usher in the new year amidst the pandemic?
Well, it's interesting. I was looking at the news feed that was coming in from you guys, and unlike Indonesia, there hasn't been an outright ban per se on New Year's Eve celebrations, but it has been a very toned down celebration for the second year in a row.
Okay.
The rules around social gatherings are very strict at the moment. We are only allowed to meet in groups of 5. So as you can imagine, not much of a party you can throw with just 5 people.
Right.
Most of us, most of my friends had very quiet evenings at home. It was raining the whole of yesterday. As
Right.
you know, I'm not sure if you are experiencing the monsoon season now in Indonesia, but we have been getting a lot of rain. And in fact, it was quite nice. The temperature dipped to 23 degrees yesterday, which is almost unheard of at this part of the world. So people were out and about. You're seeing visuals now of the shopping mall at the Marina Bay Sands, and that's where I was.
Okay.
I was actually quite surprised to see people going out to check out the light display. Despite the rain, you can see people were very determined. They're bringing out the umbrellas. Now, it is the second year in a row that the major fireworks at the Marina Bay has been cancelled, obviously to prevent large crowds from gathering. There has been a rise in Omicron cases, and the government is prepared and telling us to be prepared for a new wave of the COVID-19 virus.
Yeah.
However, there are signs that people are feeling more confident about leaving with COVID-19 as an endemic virus, as you can see from the visuals. Despite the rain and despite all the limitations, people were out and about and enjoying whatever Singapore had to offer.
Yeah.
This is a very huge contrast, though, to how New Year's Eve is typically celebrated in Singapore. Prior to the pandemic, whenever you head out into the streets on New Year's Eve, you would see a sea of people. It was the one night in Singapore where everyone would go out, would party, and enjoy the fireworks together.
All right. So has the government anticipated, or have you heard anything about how the government is anticipating handling any sort of a spike that may happen because of the Omicron variant in the coming months?
Well, in Singapore, we are moving towards dealing with living with COVID-19 as an endemic virus. So people are encouraged to go out and live their lives as normally as possible. The vaccination program is something that is going to be very importantly emphasized. At the moment, most of us are already fully vaccinated, which means we already have at least 2 vaccines. And people above 60 years old or 50 years old and who are working in frontline services have already gotten their booster jabs. I'm in my 30s and I'm due for my booster jab sometime in January. And, it is proven that the booster jab is very effective in mitigating the side effects of the Omicron variant or even preventing you from getting it.
Yeah.
Okay, so do you actually think that, people are losing the New Year's spirit itself due to the, event cancellations as well as the Omicron emergence?
I think that was how I was feeling a little bit yesterday, being cooped up at home, especially with the rain. But you make do with whatever you can, right? And I was glad that I really did get to go out, and it was nice to see that people were out taking pictures and enjoying the beautiful scenery. So. No, I don't think people are quite dampened. In fact, in the 2 weeks leading up to the New Year's celebration, it was almost impossible to get a restaurant booking. If you went into malls, it was packed with people. Restaurants, especially around this Marina Bay area, were fully booked on New Year's Eve. And in fact, unlike Indonesia, where there were curfews for restaurants and bars in your operating hours, bars and restaurants were actually open way past midnight last night. And it was a very nice feeling to be soaking in that feeling. In fact, it was the most lively I felt Singapore in the last 2 years.
Yeah, I think it's because partly due to the fact that we're so starved for gatherings and events, so that something like this, where everyone around the world is celebrating the same thing, people are very excited. It's hard to break that spirit. Thank you, Sushan, for the update. We're going to keep you online for a minute while we take you a little bit farther now, all the way to the UK, where we have Fitria Sungkar. Hi, Fitria.
Hi, guys.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. So, what about you? How is the New Year celebrated amid increasing cases of COVID-19 caused by its Omicron variant there, Fitria?
Well, the London New Year's Eve, this fireworks was on display in Greenwich just 30 minutes earlier now. In London, it's now 30 minutes past midnight, so it's just happening as we speak, still happening as we speak, actually. And after previously being cancelled by Mayor of London, Sadiq Khan. But however, people are being told to watch and to urge to watch the fireworks display from the comfort of their own home. But for others that still wanting to go to party, the government asked people to be to be extra cautious, especially the parties that are being held in homes and people's garden and etc. People are encouraged to take a lateral flow test before coming into this gathering and making sure they are well ventilated. That's why where I am now, I'm actually in the Thames Bank in Hammersmith, Riverside, quite further from the central London, but you can't really see behind me. You have pockets of people gathering among friends and family, and you know the amount of fireworks that I've been hearing in the last 30 minutes is not as less as a celebratory welcoming 2022. So although the scope of celebration is not as big as or comparable to the iconic London Eye fireworks, but I think people are more sensible to try to stay away from places where there might be a large gathering.
That makes sense. Fitria, here in Jakarta last night, the government, or yesterday afternoon, the government decided to implement certain hours and restrictions for people to go out. People had to be home by 10. How about the UK over there in London? Did they impose any sort of restrictions or rules that were particular for New Year's Eve and New Year's Day?
Well, it's quite unique, so to speak, in England because in England it's the only place where you can still go to pubs, restaurants, and clubs.
Okay.
By law, you can still allow to do that because if you compare it to Scotland, Northern Ireland, and Wales, their hospitality venues has been closed down a couple of weeks, actually a week leading up to New Year's. So there are, in England itself, there are no special restriction for the New Year's Eve, and for people that wanted to celebrate. As I walk in to my location, I can still see pubs are filled with people that are partying. So I think it's more to the government urging people to be more cautious of what they decide to do. But at the same time, well, I'm seeing the number of people that rather to have a small gathering outdoors, they might feel safer. So in a way, maybe if I go further into central London, clubs are still filled by the younger generation. But on top of that, for the larger venues such as clubs, you are allowed to show your COVID passport. And if you're not vaccinated, to be example, you need to show a negative lateral flow test in order for you to enter this premises.
Right, okay, obviously. Now that's for the locals there. Now elaborate with us about the foreigners, you know, the tourists. Can they actually enter the UK at this moment, and what are the requirements that are needed?
Well, currently there's no country in the UK government red list. Therefore, all people, all travelers from around the world can enter with some condition. For example, if you're vaccinated, before you arrive in England, you have to take 48 hours before that. You have to take a negative PCR test. Once you arrive, you have to take another test that you already pre-booked before you arrive here. And then there's another passenger locator that you have to fill and submit 48 hours before you arrive. As you arrive, after you've taken the PCR test, and then you have to wait in quarantine, self-isolating, so to speak, waiting for a result of your PCR test. If they came out negative, you can continue with your plan to travel. But if the result came out positive, you have to self-isolate for 8 days.
Oh, wow.
That's it's when if you're vaccinated. If you're not vaccinated, the condition is quite the same before you arrive in England. But as you arrive, you have to self-quarantine for 10 days. But to be fair, with the rising number of Omicron variant, just two days ago, it's up to 190,000 new cases.
Wow.
I have a hunch that I don't think if you're not vaccinated, you're gonna be able to get into your plane in the first place.
Yeah, that would make sense as well.
And wise as well, right.
Thank you for that detailed insight as to what's been happening in the UK. We're now going to shift our focus over to North America, where in the United States and the West Coast, we have our very own Mama Kay, Carolyn Surahmat, of course. That's what I'm talking about. She's in Orange County currently. Hey there. Happy New Year.
Okay, hello. You're looking good.
Wow, making us jealous. Beautiful weather out there in California. So tell us what's happening over there. How was your New Year's?
It's not New Year yet.
All right.
Right now it's
Soon.
4:35,
Right.
31st. So within a couple of hours, we're going to, celebrate our New Year. Sorry, guys.
And the mess is
always-
stuck in your earrings. As Caroline, as we know. Okay, Kay, continue with your story.
Yeah. So come back home. We arrived at 7th of December, and it was okay, guys. It was shocking because they didn't even look at. We already did our PCR. In the United States. I printed all my certificate, either me and my mom. But just looked on, and they told us, welcome home and whatnot, and enjoy your time here. So it really seems it's very different than Asia. It's not restricted at all. There's a lot of people coming here to the United States for their year holiday, and that's why it's surging of the Omicron right now here.
Of course, yeah.
We can see that.
And I am right now. I am in Long Beach. We're gonna watch Disney on Ice with my kids.
Aww.
It hits 20,000 per day. Omicron. So it is, it's getting very dangerous. I knew this was gonna happen because during Christmas, people would come in, to their family's house and whatnot. And even my brother and my sister, when they go back to work after Christmas, there's a lot of people that got infected and they have to isolate.
Okay, so it seems to be, Omicron is there, but life goes on, as we can see.
Yeah.
What about kids there? What's the vaccinations like right now? We've heard that children are eligible as well. Can you give us an update?
All right, so for the vaccination, it seems that the U.S. government right now is children of 5 to 11 years old, and also boosters. As you see right in my picture, my children on the 10th of December, they got their first booster. It was really easy access. All you have to do is just go online to any pharmacies, closest pharmacy to your house, and then put data online, and you go to your appointment. That's it. It was really easy, and children has no after 24 hours. So we waited for about 30 minutes, and then I waited for 24 hours, and they were doing alhamdulillah. So, we can't wait for having their second shot. So they're fully vaccinated.
Of course.
All right, good news. Anyway, we miss you, and you look like you're having a lot of fun there,
Yeah.
gearing up for a New Year's celebration. Now,
By the way, I'm coming back, but I'm on regulation of right now 10 days of quarantine back in Indonesia. So I'll see you guys very
that would
There
actually
you
be
go.
good. That's a good idea. Enjoy
Take
yourself
care,
in the meantime.
Kay. Stay
Now,
healthy.
from Orange County, where they are actually waiting to celebrate, we're going to go back to a place, a region where they have already celebrated
Yes.
New Year's, which is in Thailand. We're going to go now to Aum in Pattaya. Hi, Aum. Happy New Year.
From Philippines, is it?
Thailand.
Thailand.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Hi, Aum.
Hi, Aum. Are you there? I know we've kept her waiting for quite some time, so hopefully she's still connected with us.
Okay, wow.
And,
It seems like we're talking with Vitria, we're
There
speaking
she
with
is.
Kier. Okay,
All
Aum,
right.
are you here?
Yes, I'm here. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, Happy New Year.
Can you
There
hear
you
me?
are.
In
New Year.
Pattaya, right?
Okay, so it's very beautiful
I
out
am.
there. I believe you're in Pattaya,
Yes,
right?
it is. I am. I'm here in the resort town of Pattaya, just right outside of Bangkok.
Okay, so we
Okay.
do know that in Pattaya, pre-pandemic, this would be the kind of a
lot of
tourist
visitors,
destination. A lot of
right.
people would celebrate New Year's there. Can you tell us what it was like this year?
Yes, definitely. So as you can see behind me, the cleanup is just beginning after some pretty major New Year celebrations last night. Tens of thousands of Thais and foreigners packed onto this beach from early evening yesterday, eating and partying until the
there.
midnight fireworks display, which lit up the whole bay behind me. And for many of the young Thais I spoke to, there was a determination to have a good time this year after 2 years being trapped at home, as you know.
Wow.
And looking at some of the faces around this morning, I guess they succeeded.
Wow. I think this is the most festive New Year celebration
Asia,
compared
so far in
to
Southeast
any
Asia.
other three countries that we
Yes.
have
That
spoke before.
That is true. And just like here in Indonesia, I'm sure in Thailand itself, it has restrictions that needs to be applied. So actually, do tourism enterprises react to the restrictions well or not in your point of view?
Here in Pattaya, right?
Yes.
Yes, definitely. I think at this point, everyone just pretty much adapted,
Yeah.
and they're used to with the restrictions we've been having, and especially last night here we had an annual Pattaya Music Festival.
Oh, there you go.
Well, I have to say, from what I could see, there was a little in the way of social distancing in some places. The beach was packed, as were many bars and restaurants. But the main music festival event guests had to show their that they have been double jabbed and also
Right.
that they have negative COVID tests. And there was also ATK tests being given on the famous walking street strip.
Yeah.
And right now, just to give you a little bit of context, Thailand has nearly vaccinated 70% of the population. And certainly here in Pattaya, there's a feeling that people need to let off some steam, but just as importantly, the economy, which relies on tourists, needed
Yes.
last night's businesses.
Yeah, wow, that is so amazing to see
Yeah.
the situation
Yeah,
there.
happy to see it.
Exactly. How, from your point of view and what you can see and you experienced last night, what do you think the tourism entrepreneurs react to the restriction implementing at New Year's Eve? It's quite different compared to any other cities or countries.
That's right. Many restaurants and bars just restocked, especially for New Year, because they have lost almost 2 years to the pandemic, right? While the souvenir stalls, tour boats, and jet ski businesses have had a good few days with domestic tourism, and they are desperate for a good end to another lost year. And it's no wonder the hospitality and tourism sector has been hit the hardest with little government support for the millions of people it employs. Now, the business owners I have spoken to are nervous about the march of Omicron. They can't afford any further lockdowns or restrictions. But last night brought a little hope back, and how long this hope will last is anyone's guess.
Yeah, hopefully as well we can start to see real-time data as to how the sandbox scheme is working, because that could possibly be a very good example for us to follow as well.
Yes.
Aum, thank you so much for your report. And thank you as well to Shushan and Fitria and, of course, Caroline, who is out there in California. All of you ladies, either Happy New Year or Happy Upcoming New Year.
Happy upcoming New Year. Thank you, guys. Have a lovely day.
Take care, guys.
Thank you,
Hope to
everyone.
talk to you again soon, ladies.
Bye.
Bye-bye. There you go.
I miss
So
the,
excited.
festivity
I
celebration.
know.
Do you guys
of
wishing you
course.
stayed up and at least got some fireworks at home? At least you both
Oh, we did the fireworks around like what, 9?